and of course trim your aircraft to maintain the speed that you're actually after. Now, we know that coming up on Rottnest Island, if we pause for a moment here and take a look at the chart again, that our initial heading out is going to be on 252. So we can actually do some prep work before we even begin, before we even get there. Plus, we can set ourselves some other aids to help. One, we know that we're going to be at 140, so we can set that. And of course, the 252, we can dial in on our heading bug. What we're going to actually do here, we're going to bring the HSI out, like so. This way we can dial in our heading. Now, the other big point we need, of course, with the NDB especially, is a stopwatch. If we go back and have a look at the chart again, you'll notice that we definitely need it, because we need to fly at 140 knots for 2.5 minutes. I'm using a stopwatch on my actual keyboard, but as I've said before, I strongly recommend having one, even if it's just an old watch, sitting next to you to use while flying, even VFR. Now, I've dragged it off my chart off to the side simply so I can refer to it quickly and easily during the approach. Now, obviously we're not going to know we're actually at the aid until either we can see what we're meant to be flying at outside the window, which in this weather's not likely, at least not until we're extremely close, or the actual course needle starts to do a rapid deviation, or even vanishes for a moment as we fly over the beacon. other thing is, the closer you get to the nav aid with an NDB, the more sensitive the needle's going to get to movements. So we're coming up on 30 DME. As you can see, we can just make out Rottnest Island underneath us. What we're going to do is we're going to overfly the nav aid. We can see we're getting course deviation occurring there. Once we overfly the nav aid, we're going to go out slightly, come back, reduce our altitude, and then once we hit the aid, join the pattern to fly out that 2.5 minute leg. So we've just gone over the aid. We're going to reduce our speed. And our altitude. We know we need to be at 2,000 feet as we join over the top of that beacon. We also need to be 140 knots. Because we're going to be going slow, I tend to go in and configure for an approach by pushing my flaps to take off. Gives me a little bit of drag, but it also means if I need the extra lift, it's already there. So we're coming back to the nav aid. We've actually gone under the altitude we're meant to be at, so we're going to climb. We need to put some power in. Oh, not that much power. We're coming to the aid. We're going to see the needle start moving. We want to turn out on our course and start our stopwatch. At the same time, we want to slowly descend down to 240. To 140 correction. When we turn back, we're going to be turning back to a course of 087 on a right-hand turn. we can't go any lower than this until we reach our the 2.5 minute mark. We've just hit 2 minutes. Coming up on the 2.5 minute mark. So now we'd start our turn around to 087. Same time, we're going to bring the landing gear down and of course trim our aircraft. Now the minimum altitude we're allowed to go to before breaking off is 740 feet. And if we look, we can just make out the runway. Possibly. No, that's actually the reason why we can't go below 740 feet. So there's our 740 feet. We want to maintain this altitude until either we have the airfield in sight and are happy that we can land, or until we fly over the navigational aid, in which case we would start our missed approach. As we can see, there's the runway. And we could continue our approach, but we're actually going to go missed approach, so we're going to climb back up. Put our gear up. And once we pass the aid, we want to turn to a course of 175. So we passed over the aid, turned to a course of 175. While continuing to climb to our minimum safe altitude of 1,800 feet. So that's the NDB approach. Now we're going to go shoot a VOR at Pierce. So let's pause for a moment so we can look and see what we have to do. This is the Perth chart, and we're going to shoot a VOR on runway 21. We're currently over here, so it makes sense for us to join at Woofie. So let's have a look at the information we need here. First off, we need to be 3,000 feet within 25 nautical miles, so we're going to have to climb. Woofie is on the Perth VOR DME, which is 113.7, so we need to switch our radio. Normally, when we switch the radio, we'd also check that we're getting the correct navigational aid by turning on its receiver. We'll get a Morse code signal which matches this. Finally, to begin with, we want to dial in a course of 308. We can get rid of the purple line for the ADF. So at the moment we're travelling away from the beacon because it's from. We can see that the aid, if we bring up our HSI to its full version, is off to our left wing. So we want to make a turn in and towards the aid so that we join in at Woofie here. Once we join Woofie, or as we get close to Woofie, we'll drop down to 2,800 feet until we pass the 340 radial. Then we can drop down to 2,500 feet before, as we come round on the arc to join the 202 radial in for the landing on runway 21. This point we can start descending down to our minimum descent altitude of 550 feet. However, we're going to shoot a missed approach again. So let's get it to it, shall we? First off, as we said, we need to continue our climb up to 3,000 feet. At the same time, we just verified that we got the correct radio nav aid. So we're at least above the minimum altitude. ATC's just cleared us back to 3,000 feet. So we're going to drop down to 3,000 and maintain 3,000 feet. Now at the moment we're flying directly towards the Pierce VOR. We can tell that because the needle was just in front of us. We actually want to fly the needle a little off to the side because we want to join on to the course by 9 DME. We can tell our distance from the beacon once again by looking at this number here, So we want to close it, but at the same time, we don't want to go beyond 9 DME. And once we hit this arc, we want to maintain at least within 10 DME because of the military airspace. So after Wolfie, we're going to be going for 340. We've got to do a couple of things as we fly here, and so that we've actually got time and we're not overdoing it and making it so that we have to rush, we're going to reduce our throttle